Hello class. So today let's study for the half-life quiz. So question 1. What is half-life? The time for half of a radioactive substance to decay. So decay, that means the unstable nucleus becomes stable. The unstable nucleus, it loses protons or neutrons to become stable. Question 2. If we start with 400 atoms of a radioactive substance, how many would we have after one half-life? We would have 200. 2 half-lives, we would have 100. 3 half-lives, we would have 50. 4 half-lives, we would have 25. Question 3. If we start with 48 atoms of a radioactive substance, how many would remain after one half-life? Well, it would be half of 48. That's 24. 2 half-lives, half of 24 is 12. 3 half-lives, half of 12 is 6. 4 half-lives, half of 6 is 3. Using the graph to the right, answer the following questions. Question 4. What is the half-life of each element? Well, let's start with element A. So when the percent remaining is 1/2, what percent is that? Well, that's 50%. At what time is the percent remaining 50%? Because half-life is the time for half of a radioactive substance to decay. It's the time for the percent remaining to get to 50%. So which axis is the percent remaining? That's the y-axis. When the percent remaining is 50%, what is the time? The time is about 0.7. It's between 0.5 and 1, about 0.7. The time is 0.7. What is the unit of the x-axis? It's times 10 to the power of 9 years. So the half-life is 0.7 times 10 to the power of 9 years. What is the half-life of element B? Again, the percent remaining is 50%. When the percent remaining for B is 50%, what is the time that it takes for element B to decay to 50% remaining? It is 4.5 times 10 to the power of 9 years. You can follow the same procedure for element C and element D. For element C, what is the time that it takes the age when it is 50% remaining? For C, it is 13 times 10 to the power of 9 years. Which element has the shortest half-life? That's element A. Which element is the most unstable? Unstable, that means it decays quickly. The nucleus is unstable. It decays quickly. It loses protons and neutrons quickly. That's element A. Use the graph on the left to answer the following questions. How many atoms are in the original sample size of this radioisotope? Original, that means starting. The starting amount. Counts per minute, that's amount. So the starting amount is the amount at 0 days. That's 80 atoms. How long is the half-life? It's the time. Half-life, again, it's the time when the amount equals what? It's the time when the amount equals half of the original amount. It started with 80 atoms, so half of the original amount is 40 atoms. The time when there's 40 atoms, that's 2. What's the unit of time? Days. How many atoms are left after 2 half-lives? 2 half-lives. Well, 1 half-life, that's 40 atoms. 2 half-lives, that's 40 divided by 2, 20 atoms. Approximately how many days would have to pass for there to be only 2.5 atoms of the sample remaining? How many half-lives? Let's do half-lives, atoms. After 1 half-life, there are 40 atoms. After 2 half-lives, there are 20 atoms. After 3 half-lives, there are 10 atoms. After 4 half-lives, there are 5 atoms. After 5 half-lives, there are 2.5 atoms. So it would take 5 half-lives. Question 11. How long is a half-life for carbon-12? Again, what is the time when the amount is 50% or 1/2? Well, when the amount is 50%, the time is 5,730 years. So the time equals 5,730 years. If only 25% of the carbon-14 remains, how old is the material containing the carbon-14? When the amount is 25%, what is the time? When the amount is 25%, the time is 10,740 years. If a sample originally had 120 atoms of carbon-14, how many atoms will remain after 16,110 years? How many atoms? So that is asking us, what is the amount when the time is 16,110 years? So the time is 16,110. At a time of 16,110, that is an amount of 12.5%. 12.5% of 120. 12.5% of 120 atoms. That's 12.5% times 120. 12.5%, that's 12.5 divided by 100 times 120. Percent, that equals X% equals X over 100. 12.5 divided by 100 times 120. Let's do that in our calculator. Uh, 12.5 divided by 100 times 120. That's 15. Question 14. If a sample known to be about 10,740 years old has 400 carbon atoms, how many atoms were in the sample when the organism died? So when the amount equals 10,740, when the time equals 10,740 years, that is an amount of what? 10,740, that goes with 25%. So that means 25% of X, the original amount, equals 400. So 25 over 100 times X equals 400. How do we get X by itself? We divide both sides by 25 over 100. We divide both sides by 25 over 100. 400 divided by 25 over 100. So you do 400 divided by 25 over 100. Let's do that in our calculator. $400 divided by 25 over 100. Oops. 100. That equals 1,600. Question 15. What percent of iodine is left if 5 half-lives have passed? 5 half-lives. It says, the table below shows the radioactive decay of a 600-gram sample of iodine 125. After 5 half-lives, what percent of iodine is left? That would be the percent of the parent isotope remaining. The parent isotope is iodine 125. So after 5 half-lives, 3.125% remains. What percent of iodine 125 has decayed if there are 37.5 grams of the original sample left? Which of these columns is the amount that has decayed? Well, that's the percent remaining that has decayed. 100% minus percent remaining. That has decayed. There are 37.5 grams of the original sample left. Original sample, that's the mass of the parent isotope. So 37.5 grams, 6.25% remains. Therefore, 100 minus 6.25%, that is 93.75%. What is the half-life of iodine 125? After 1 half-life, that is 60 days. What mass of iodine 125 has decayed after 6 half-lives? After 6 half-lives, 590.6 grams has decayed. What fraction of the iodine 125 remains after 300 days have passed? After 300 days have passed, the fraction remaining is 1/32. How many half-lives would have to pass for there to be only 1.2 grams remaining? After 6 half-lives, there's 9.4. So after 7 half-lives, there is 9.4 divided by 2. That's 4.7. After 8 half-lives, that's 4.7 divided by 2. That's about 2.35. After 9 half-lives, that's 2.35 divided by 2. That's about 1.2. So it would have to take 9 half-lives. How many grams of the daughter isotope are there after 3 half-lives? After 3 half-lives, there are 325 grams of the daughter isotope. The table of parent-daughter isotopes shows 3 different isotope pairs that are used in radioisotope dating. Examine the chart and answer the following questions. Question 22. Lead-207 is called the daughter of uranium-235. What does this mean? Daughter isotope, that means that it's stable. isotope. So uranium-235 is unstable. So it decays into lead-207. Let's write that down. Uranium-235 is radioactive. It decays into lead-207. How old is a rock sample that contains uranium-235 and lead-207 in equal amounts? Well, that means it's 1 half-life old. What's the half-life of uranium-235? The half-life is 710 million years. Question 24. The age of Earth was first established in 1953 when Claire C. Patterson of the California Institute of Technology used a uranium-lead clock to analyze rock. In comparing amounts of uranium-235 with lead-207, he established that about 8 half-lives of uranium-207 had passed since the rock formed. Using this data, estimate the age of Earth. 8 half-lives of uranium-237 or uranium-207 is how many years? One half-life is I think they meant to say uranium-235. One half-life of uranium-235 is 710 million years. So therefore 8 half-lives is 710 times 8. (710 times 8), 5,680 million years. Iodine-131 is a radioactive substance that can be used to treat certain thyroid conditions. It has a half-life of 8 days. Your friend with a thyroid condition is given 40 milligrams of iodine-131 to drink. Assuming that all the iodine-131 stays in her body, how much will remain after 4 half-lives? The half-life of iodine-131 is 8 days. After 4 half-lives, so if there's 40 milligrams in the beginning, so let's do amount and half-lives. After 1 half-life, there will be 20. Sorry. After 1 half-life, there will be 20 milligrams. After 2 half-lives, there will be 10 milligrams. After 3 half-lives, there will be 5 milligrams. After 4 half-lives, there will be 2.5 milligrams. Question 26. Your mother will soon undergo some medical testing that will require her to swallow a radioactive isotope as a tracer. She is nervous about having a radioactive substance in her body, even though the radiologist told her not to worry, as the isotope has a half-life of only 7 minutes. Explain to her what a half-life is and the significance of the half-life being 7 minutes. Half-life, that is the time for 1/2 of a radioactive substance. That means an unstable substance. Radioactive, that means unstable substance, to decay, to become stable. The half-life being 7 minutes, that means it takes 7 minutes for the isotope to decay to 1/2 its original amount.